Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. This is Agree or Disagree. Joining me, as always, is Lauren. How are we doing?
Good, it's my birthday. So
I was going to say happy birthday, but you didn't give me the opportunity to.
No, I just needed to make sure everyone knows.
I was going to say happy birthday.
I always need everyone to know.
But you was like, are you a bit of a birthday diva?
Yeah. Oh, I get birthday month.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I used to have a girl like that. It was like, she used to celebrate her half birthday.
Oh, no, I'm not that far.
Well, you knew when she was that young?
What? No, not half years old.
Oh.
Every halfway through the year.
Jesus Christ, I'm not even 30
So that's early for work. I know you're old, but fucking hell.
Also joining us is Joe Smith.
Hello. It's not even nearly my birthday yet.
Is it not?
2.5 months don't count. No, innit?
That's not too far away. And also as well, Chels, how are you?
Hello, it's not my birthday either. Right,
there we go. So 75% of us, it's not our birthday. Yeah?
But it is mine.
So.
Yeah. 25%. It is our birthdays. Get involved in the chat in the comments and wish happy birthday if you want to. Lots of people doing that already. We're going to be talking about Bruno Fernandes. The news earlier on this week was that Al Hilal, I think, in Saudi were looking to try and buy Bruno Fernandes. Hearing the sort of almost money was no object kind of bid where they were willing to pay whatever it took or whatever it takes to get Bruno Fernandes from Manchester United. It doesn't seem as though that's going to happen. Ruben Amorim was talking about it today. The noises we're hearing that Bruno doesn't want to leave, and certainly I think everyone around this table doesn't want him to go. But it has sparked a little bit of a debate, so we're going to do it slightly different today. We've been asking the question to you guys because we did a short the other day, part of the news when I was speaking about it, about not selling Bruno. I'm not into it. I don't want to see it happen. A few people were replying going, well, hang on a minute. What about if this scenario, if that scenario happened? So we put a question out on our Twitter earlier. It said, if you think there is a scenario where Manchester United should sell Bruno Fernandes this summer, give us your argument in the replies below. And then we'll be going through them and might choose your comment to debate in an upcoming video, which is this one. So we're gonna go through some of the replies we've had and just sort of discuss the merits that some people might have, or the arguments that some people are making, about why selling Bruno, if the price is right or whatever, could be an okay idea. I know it's not one we're all into, but we'll get into that. Before we do though, make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. Hit that like button as well, please, people. Ryan Muddy, welcome to the academy. Yes, you are, is Lord 7, says, say no to Saudis for his sake. Sell to a big club in Europe. Let him go win something. He deserves better than us.
Fuck that.
I wouldn't agree with that, to be honest with you.
Sorry.
It's all right. I mean, I'd keep Bruno, but we'll get into it. We got the first sort of comment that we had. So we had this on Twitter. It says, I know Bruno is the heart of the team, but if you think back to Liverpool when they were struggling, they sold Coutinho for a huge sum and it changes the course of their football team. 120 million, if spent right, could bring in 2 to 3 top young talents. Now, 120 million isn't beyond the realms of possibility when you're talking about Saudi and the fact that they're sort of, the noises are they're determined to get him. I'll start with you, Lauren. On that point, because, you know, as I've said, we don't want to sell Bruno. None of us think we should. What do you make of that argument, though? Like, we know that Liverpool, in 2016, I think it was, or 2017, when they had Coutinho, they had an all right team, but it wasn't great. They sold him. He was almost their talisman. We saw what he did to United at Old Trafford in the Europa, if you all remember that one. Fantastic player, very talented, still relatively young, scored goals, created goals. They sold him, and then next thing you know, they made that money go towards players like Mohamed Salah. Who else did they buy? Virgil van Dijk, Alisson Becker. I mean, they seemed to make that money last forever, didn't they? I don't think it quite lasted as long as they made out. But they certainly used a lot of it to reinvigorate the team, and you could argue they didn't really miss him. Do you think there's a point there, or do you agree with some of what's being said there about how it could be a sort of a Coutinho move?
Personally not, because I think the players that we've got currently and we've just brought in, we're quite a young team in terms of, like, we've got Euro, we've signed him, we've got Dorgu, a young player. I know we've got a few older players, but Højlund, our striker, again, very young. We can't just sell someone to bring in more young players. Then we've got no experience. We've got no one that is the leader in the team. If we sell Bruno and bring in 2, 3 young players, who have we got as a captain? Who have we got that's going to charge that team? Who have we got that's going to inspire the team? Not really anyone. because we saw that we've even captained Lindelof. He's obviously going to go, but he's not someone that's going to actually, if he stayed, say, he's not going to charge the team. He's not going to take us to the next level. There's no one, Harry Maguire, but he's had it taken off him, and I think he's played better without it. Yeah. So I think Harry Maguire will stay, but then he's not going to captain the team. So without Bruno, if we bring in 2-3 more players, we've got absolutely no one that's really got the voice, got the strength, and got the presence on the pitch, plus the skill that Bruno has in the team anyway, to create a full team. If he's not there, then I think that the team will become completely disconnected. And I don't think anyone would really know where they're supposed to be and what they're doing, because there's no leader.
Yeah.
Joe, on that front, on the points that Lauren's made and the point the comment made as well, in terms of bringing players in, because we know that everyone uses the Coutinho argument with Liverpool, don't they? Because they took a massive step forward with their transfers after that signing, and they brought in some real quality. Do you think that could happen? You're not saying you want it to happen, but do you think there is a scenario where if you got 120 million for Bruno, you end up with a better overall team for longer term than what you've got by keeping Bruno Fernandes?
The problem with the Coutinho argument is Coutinho is shit compared to Bruno Fernandes.
Right,
That's the
Correct.
first thing in all this. Coutinho, the reason that was such a good transfer is because they absolutely fleeced the fuck out of Barcelona.
Yeah.
He was never worth the 120, 140 million.
I think he went up to 145
the
with add-ons.
ridiculous number that they got for him. He was a good player who'd had a couple of good years.
Yeah.
Then he went to Barcelona and was crap basically the whole time. As you always mention, Jay, loaned out to Bayern Munich, scored against Barcelona. He went to Aston
the worst
Villa.
transfer ever.
By the age of 30, when Bruno's putting in 40 goals
Villa.
and assists, Coutinho went to Villa and couldn't even do it there. He's not anywhere near the same ballpark as Bruno Fernandes. So the idea of selling Coutinho and replacing him is far easier to do than selling Bruno and replacing him. That's the first point. The second one is you do have to replace him. And how much money have we spent trying to find people like Bruno Fernandes? Billions. And how many Bruno Fernandeses have we found? One. Like, if I see over the next 18 months, 2 years, that Ineos are just absolute whiz kids, and not just Ineos, Jason Wilcox and Barada and Vivel and these people that are coming in to do the transfers, if they're just phenomenal in the transfer window, I'll start going, you know what, do what you want with this squad. And not that I'm going to be happy with Bruno living, anything like that, but if I truly trust them, I'll start thinking differently. But for now, the combination of how good he is, how this, the Coutinho comparison, which just isn't relevant personally, and how little we've shown us in terms of proof that we'll get a better player than him, there's just no reason for me to sell him. Certainly using Coutinho as the argument, and we spoke about this before. But the counter to that is, and one that is a more accurate counter in comparison to me, is 18 months ago, a club from Saudi Arabia wanted to buy Mo Salah from Liverpool. The same club that were happy to sell Coutinho, they didn't think the value was there. Even at 150 million, they weren't up for it. Salah stayed and has won them another league title.
Yeah.
I think that, for me, is the better comparison than this Coutinho one where you sold a player for probably triple what he was worth and happened to go on to great things.
I'll get into some of the comments before I come to you, Chels. Steve M says, what you're saying, Joe, Coutinho wasn't even close to the level Bruno's been at. Danny says, I do not trust our recruitment to reinvest that money smartly. Notch says, players cost more now than when Liverpool brought in replacements for Coutinho. That's a good point.
Absolutely.
It's a bit of an outlier, Mo Salah one, because he was such a good transfer, unfortunately, at such a relatively cheap price. Even at those times, you ain't going to spend 36 million and get a striker or an attacker who scores you an average of 30 goals a season or whatever. That was a bit lucky. And I know people don't like to use the term lucky in football, but let's have it right. Klopp wanted Julian Brandt. The club said, no, we're going to get you Mo Salah. And
what happened?
it kind of works out.
And even if you give them all the credit and say it wasn't luck, even if it was just the perfect bit of scouting, you can't always just come up with a Mo Salah.
No.
Like, let's say they saw something that no one else did. Those players don't just happen every single season. There isn't just a Mo Salah knocking about every year.
No, I agree. Charles, what do you think? I mean, the argument is there. You can bring in more young players as well. That was part of what was being said there. Bruno is 30. Yeah. Does that sway you at any point?
I don't think that argument is particularly very valid, and I think it's because we are in such a different situation to Liverpool when they did sell Coutinho. I think to be honest with you, I don't think Liverpool's team were as bad as our team. So let's say Liverpool's team without Coutinho, I don't think we're as bad as our team without Bruno. I mean, realistically, and I 100% believe this, that if we didn't have Bruno in our team this year, we would have been relegated, or we would have been very, very close. I don't think that's
an outlandish
no,
statement. Considering where we're sat,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Contributed.
Bruno has been the heartbeat of our team, and he has been all season. And it genuinely scares me to think what we would have done if we didn't have him. Imagine if we had, I don't know, not that I'm saying Mount's a bad player, but if we had Mount in that position every week, if we had, I don't know, McTominay still playing for us, that kind of thing. It scares me to think that what we would do without Bruno's goals, without Bruno's assists, without Bruno's creativity. I just think he's a night and day player, like completely different kind of influence on the team than Coutinho was on Liverpool. So I think that is a major point. And I think if we were to not get rid of him, but if we were to sell him to Saudi, for example, and bring in these young players, what's saying that next year these young players won't be ready and we'll end up in the same situation, if not worse, fighting relegation next year? I just don't think it's worth it. Whilst we've not got a team of older, experienced players, I just think selling Bruno would just be a big mistake. I get the argument. I get, if we're going to get money for him, it'd be now at the age that he's at now at 30, and obviously the older he gets, the less he's going to go down in value. But honestly, a team without Bruno Fernandes next year, and we're not going to find anyone of his kind of calibre to replace him, just really terrifies me. And again, they're not going to kind of invest the money into someone who's going to instantly come in and replace Bruno and be that kind of centre force of the team. So yeah, no, completely disagree with that argument.
FPL Mikel says City should have sold KDB 2 seasons ago. Are we doing the same to Bruno? Will Bruno at 34 be too old for us to challenge in 3 years? Food for thought. I'll name this podcast later. He's been a member of the academy for 16 months. Says when all is said and done and we look back at this horrific period, he will be the reason we didn't capitulate. He's everything a United player should be. Have we got the next one? I agree with all that. Hit that like button as well, please, people. We have the next one up. Got a tweet here. It says, if we don't get Champions League, we could argue that next season is a transition year and justify selling him. Plus, he's not got as much to stay for. So there's the argument there that Champions League, if we don't get Champions League, that basically next year is just going to be another complete reset. Go on, Chelsea. Are you ready to say that?
So what's the suggestion?
Go on then, Joe.
No, I don't mean to speak instead of it. I'm trying to clarify what is actually being said there. As in, like, who cares if we're a bit shit for a year? It's worth it in the long run. Is that what
they're saying? If we haven't got Champions League next year we're not gonna have Europe. So it's gonna be like almost a complete change of like we need to fix everything. So maybe that could justify moving him on, and he himself. He's not going to be playing in Europe. He's not going to be playing in the Champions League. I presume. I don't know who's wrote this. I'm just guessing from what I'm reading. So is that a reason to sell him? Because this is like a transition year. For me, it just means like an overhaul. Right. And, I understand the point you're making, even if I don't agree with it. Go on, you both try to say something.
I was just thinking, we're not, again, I'm just going back to my point that I said before. How are we going to have a transitional year if we're fighting relegation? At the end of the day, I'd still believe that we cannot bring in players in the transfer window that will completely change the team without Bruno Fernandes, in that team. I just think the idea of we're in a transitional period now with him. We can still transition into a newer team, bring in younger, new players, whilst Bruno is still part of that squad. And I don't think you need to take him out of the equation to be in a transitional period. Because Bruno will be say we sign the next Bruno Fernandes, he can be a great kind of player to have in that team to almost bring that player up into that role. And I just think to completely take Bruno out of the equation and just move him on, I just don't think that would work out. Plus, I don't think he's bothered about. I mean, obviously he's going to be bothered about Champions League. I think that's a stupid thing to say, but I think he loves the club, and I think he'd be happy to stay at the club even if we don't get Champions League football next year. I think he loves Man United, and he said that that quote about him getting the vote of confidence. I don't think not having Champions League next year is a big deal breaker for him.
Go on, Lauren, what do you reckon? Do you think that next season could be a transitional year if we don't get Champions League football, and that could influence the decision, or make it, not influence it, but justify it?
I think in my head I'm thinking about Bruno's decision making, and I think that Bruno, let me explain what I'm about to say after I say my first point. His ego and his confidence makes him want to stay because he wants to take the team to where we should be. So like he knows he's good enough to take the team to where we should be, which is he wants to win a Premier League title at United.
Of course he does.
He wants to win everything at United. And I think I genuinely believe, especially at his age, that he would be happy to stay at United and as a captain as well, and really push the team to try and get us back there. I think the transitional period, I think, again, like you just said, we're already there. Well, that's where we're supposed to be anyway. But I think with the last bit of the comment, what's he there to stay for? He's there to stay, and he'll stay at United and go, I've took them there.
Yeah.
In the least arrogant way possible. He's doing it because he believes in his own confidence and he believes in his own ego. And I think a lot of us believe in his confidence, his skills, his talent, that he could potentially be the person that could take us back there with the right people around him, because obviously he has been with us for a few years now, and we are battling, well, we were at one point battling relegation, but he has got the skills, the talent, the leadership to take us back to where he deserves to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I don't think he would want to leave, is because I think he's won a few things with us. He could potentially now win the Europa, that then it'll give him another taste to go, I can take this team
Yeah. No.
to the Premier League, which
Yeah.
I deserve, which he really wants to win,
To a Champions League.
and the Champions League.
Joe, what do you reckon with that argument?
I think Chelsea sort of summed up what I was going to say, which is we're transitioning anyway.
Yeah.
This isn't like one last piece to sort of finish things off when we're almost there. Swap Bruno up. Like, there's a lot of a transition doesn't have to be 11 new players.
No.
We've got loads of new players around Bruno anyway. Half of the players that we signed 2 years ago under 10 aren't good enough and are leaving.
Yeah.
Or will be leaving soon. So, yeah, there's a big transition happening anyway. And I think you mentioned before, Lauren, like, we need some stable pieces through that transition to be the guiding force and to, sort of lead the way. And I think Bruno is obviously the person to do that. So, yeah, the transition thing, I'm not keen on that.
I agree. I'll name this podcast later as gifted a membership. So is Bradley Heacock. Tom Hutton says thoughts on going in for De Bruyne. I can't see that happening, bro,
No,
to be honest with you.
Don't do it.
Yeah. We'll have one final one before we wrap up. Let's have one final point before we wrap the conversation up. We've got one more there. Right, so someone's posted about positions. They put the 10 position is best for a winger. The deeper mid 2 doesn't suit him either. So they're making the point of Bruno Fernandes in this system. Obviously, the Ruben Amorim system is like a 3-4-2-1. He's saying, or they're saying, I should say, the 10 is best for the likes of Garnacho or something like, or Ahmad maybe, that type of player, that winger type. The deeper mid doesn't suit Bruno Fernandes. Joe, what do you make of that argument, that with this manager, this system, that maybe Bruno's not as suited, that's the point they're making, to it as he has been in under Ten Hag or Ole?
He's been involved in more goals than any attacking midfielder or midfielder in the world this season. So, not suiting him is a bit of a stretch for me. I think because he gets moved around a little bit. But people watch Wayne Rooney. He would play on the left sometimes. He'd play as a number 9 sometimes. He'd play a little bit deeper. He'd play one of the two. He'd play as a midfielder. He'd play as he'd do anything. He'd play anywhere. And on any given day, he could be anywhere on the pitch, basically, other than in defence. But that doesn't mean that he didn't suit the system. Yeah. That means that he suited a lot of systems. Yeah. And I think that's the case with Bruno. It's not that he doesn't suit the system, it's that he suits 2 positions in the system really well. 37 goals and assists this season. Like I said, that's more than any attacking midfielder in any of the top leagues in Europe. Like, to say he doesn't suit it, for me, I think he's really trying hard to find an issue that isn't there.
Yeah, I agree. Chels, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Joe said. Like, I just feel like that is just kind of trying to find a reason why he isn't going to be here next season. Like, you can't, you've said it all, you can't say that he doesn't fit the system when he's been our best player in that system since Amorim came in. I can't agree with that one, because I know you might want to say like you want to get like a trickier winger and all that kind of player, but no, just no.
Let's get them first and then worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Just no, basically.
What do you reckon?
Again, we're all disagreeing with the comment. I think Bruno, again, like we just said, has been our best player. The best kind of player you want is someone that suits everywhere.
Yeah.
And everywhere he's been asked to go, or however deep or however forward he's been asked to play, it's worked. Like, he's got the best stats for us. Like, what more can you ask of him? Just because he doesn't... I think this is where, like, people in, like, football currently, in, like, the recent years of football... I made a comment about Robbie Savage. He's obsessed with numbers and who's a number 9, who's a number 10. Like, you listen to him on commentary and that's all he talks about is numbers. But when you have a player as talented as Bruno, who can he doesn't need to be confined to a positional number. He can just play exactly where he needs to play. Whether he's even at the start of the game put in that position, you'll find him in another position if he has to be there. So it doesn't matter whether... he's not under 10, you need a better 10 for a winger or this, that and the other. What you need is a player who can play where they need to play and what's needed of them. And yeah, there's a system in football, but Bruno fits every system, which he's proven since he started at United. Whatever system that gets played by the manager, he's been the best player in it.
Yeah, I understand why someone's making that point, but I don't agree with it at all. And I agree with everything that's been said. I agree with a lot of people in the comments. Some people sort of make an argument why you could move him on, but a lot of people agreeing with everyone that's saying how important he is. And whenever I think of Bruno Fernandes, I always think of like the Brian Robson situation, where you had one of the best midfielders in the world in a team that was struggling. And if you'd have got rid of him, maybe you'd have brought in other players, but I think Fergie would have got sacked. I don't think we'd have had a leader that we had that helped us get to the point where we were winning Premier Leagues, and we had all those young players that looked up to him and were able to admire him, and he had that standard that he was setting. I think you would have been worse off on the whole for doing something like that. And I think that with Bruno Fernandes, I'm not saying he's as good as Robbo, but I'm saying he's that type of player where if you got rid of him now and you bring in some free young players, there's a good chance Ruben Amorim gets sacked next season if those players aren't integrated as quickly as Bruno Fernandes was.
And there's no influence anywhere in the club.
Yeah, and then the standards have slipped, so there isn't that leader, and it's just long term it's actually detrimental rather than being beneficial. That's my take. I agree with everything that you guys have said. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Loads of people saying about your point as well, about not just about numbers and stuff like that. And I think that's a very valid point as well. Agreed that one. Bit different today because it wasn't a debate where we were going to sit and go, I think we should sell Bruno. And then you go, yeah, I do too. And go, actually, I don't think we should. We all don't want to see Bruno leave, so we thought we'd put it out there, see if anyone does want to see him go. The argument's for it. Some valid points, but I think we all want to keep him, don't we?
Do we have a poll?
We do.
No, we don't.
Oh, no poll today. Cool.
Sorry.
So we'll never know what people thought.
Hang on a minute. I can do this, right? I can
Right.
You
a
can have
poll.
about 10 seconds to vote.
Yeah.
Should
We'll give
we
you
sell
30 seconds.
Bruno?
100 million.
All right, 100 million.
Yeah.
100 million.
That's a bit of a tempter in it for people,
Yeah.
maybe.
Right, start the poll. I'm gonna
Go.
If you don't vote straight away, your vote's not gonna count.
Do you all
Yeah.
want to
And you
see
may
my
still be
trainers while you vote?
What?
Does everyone want to see my new trainers?
Have we got a brand deal with him?
No, just want to
What
show
are we doing,
them.
selling?
Are these your birthday trainers?
Yeah, I got myself.
I didn't know you got us a brand
I got
deal.
myself
Are we just selling
new
merch on
United
here now?
trainers.
Oh, are we?
Takes you
They
off.
actually are quite.
They are
alright.
nice.
Are these is it pink and cream, or is it red?
Red.
They're red, I think, aren't they?
We're not the pink devils.
No, I know, but it looks a touch pink.
It's
to
like a
me,
bit
that.
coral. It's like a corally red. I
No,
think.
it's very red.
Is it?
Very red.
It does look a bit pinker on camera.
Does a
Very
bit.
red. There you go. So I'll give people
Very
a
nice.
tag.
Very
They're
nice
nice, then.
trainers.
Yeah, they're very good then.
And that's a short ad break.
My trainers have got.
Well done.
My trainers have
Yeah.
got all.
Can I see your trainers
poo
as well?
in the bottom.
Oh, let's see
let's have a
your
look at your
daisies.
trainers.
Get the daisies
You
You
out.
got
Daisies
your
out.
daisies on.
The daisy
Yeah, there we
colours.
go.
Ah,
Yeah.
Oh,
very
Go on,
flexible.
talk to the poll. Come on, this is getting
Right.
silly now.
Yeah, it is. Should we sell Bruno for 100 million? Yes, 17%. No, 83%.
Not an
you go.
insignificant
So,
number though, 17%.
Well done for everyone that
17%'s crazy,
voted
actually.
in that
Yeah.
swift poll there. That's been Joe Smith. Me and him are going to be back later on with Paddock Live, so make sure you check that out. That's been Chels. That's been Lauren. I've been Jay. This has been Agree or Disagree. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.